Good morning. My name is Tantra Mott. I'm a mystic and a seer and a prophetess. I'm 71 years old, so I can legitimately say I am a mystic, a seer, and a prophetess. And there's a reason I'm starting this video with that conversation. It's because we are unusual in a very real sense. We have visions and we hear voices and we experience things that are beyond what most human beings experience. A lot of mystic seers and prophetesses and prophets were recorded in some of the ancient texts of our time. And I've talked about myself more socially correct for many years, saying I'm a psychic, which isn't quite socially correct, but at least it fit in the relative norm that we think we have. But as I've gotten older and I've gotten to see the visions and the prophecies and the sight that I carry come true, I feel more called to be myself in my speaking with you and not to garnish it in anything that you might easily understand. And I speak particularly to those of you who know that you carry ways and how those ways are more connected to creation and more connected to a larger world and more connected to the deeper nature of things and to the wonder of all life. We've been made so fraudulent, so practical, so about survival, so about the gathering of things, so about the belonging to a society, so caught. But underneath all that, underneath that garnished tinsel world that so many human beings live in fear of, it's like they've lost a piece of themselves. And it's true. Many human beings have lost a piece of themselves. In fact, a lot of human beings. But they aren't lost in the larger scheme of things. In the larger scheme of things, everybody is still whole. Everybody is still connected. Everybody is still one. But that's the landscape that I am speaking to you about today. I was awakened this morning at 5 a.m. and I had purchased some background shots, and I thought this one with the dragon was very apropos. And this is the first time I've ever filmed with a backdrop, so I may have some crickling around my shoulders and things happening that I don't quite know how to deal with yet. But I want to dedicate this conversation to a young Ayurvedic practitioner who has conversations with me about things that I understand. But in our traditions of our Western traditions, we don't really comprehend certain things. I know there could be some stigma about Ayurveda. It's always thought to be about detox or diet. Well, so far he hasn't detoxed me and I haven't been on a diet. But one day I was talking to him about the pressure that human beings are under right now and how could I best serve them and serve myself. It was really a very poignant question for me because I work in empathic response. I work with sensitivities. I work with people who are empaths and people who are visionaries and people who are opening up into a larger scheme of things with no world to support it. And he really floored me with the answer in Spirit Hour, which I will connect to this video when I post it. I talked about it in spirit. In other words, in Spirit Hour, I'm in spirit when I'm talking. So it's not logical or rational. In fact, I tried to edit it and it's just not editable down into a pragmatic document because I was in spirit at the time that I was being with the people. But he said to me, what if there isn't an enemy? And it isn't like I walk around saying there's an enemy. But he opened up a doorway for me that for the past few weeks since we had the conversation, at a personal level, I've really been looking at the times of my life, which actually have been frequent, where in the face of the enemy, it dissolved, that somehow I went beyond it. There have been many, many instances, the loss of a child, where I felt that I had been forsaken by God, until I had a mystical experience and realized that my children and I will never be separate. And there's no way to talk about it if you've never had the experience of it. But you actually do. You have the experience a lot. Otherwise, we just wouldn't carry on. Even in war-torn countries that are in terror 24/7, the loss of life and the loss of their children and hideous death, even in that, there are times where they're not experiencing the enemy. The enemy, simply said, is that which we fear will destroy us. Sometimes it's a person, sometimes it's a society, sometimes it's a way of life, sometimes it's our body, sometimes it's a random thought. And it's true that in this reality that we were born into, there is a tremendous amount of evidence about the enemy. So what drove me to have this conversation was when I was messing around with the backgrounds and I found the dragon, I kept thinking, I'd really like to look at you and talk to you about the enemy. I just felt like I needed to put it out on the web just to make space. But this morning, you could say the greater system of which we're a part, what I call the generating, organizing, design of creation. Some people call it God. I have a personal relationship with a higher power that I experience being part of. But I also have a principle or a almost meta-scientist relationship with the wonders of creation, where we are all part of a generating all part of the generating, organizing, design of creation. And I work very hard to have people's systems return to that design. But I had a dream this morning, and that's the source of this conversation. In the dream, Buddha came to me, and the practitioner who had the conversation with me, he talked about being Buddhist, and unfortunately we get caught in labels like Ayurvedic or Buddhist or psychic or mystic or seer or prophetess, but try to listen beyond the way your mind has been taught to shut down those words so that you don't get access to the richness beyond them. But I thought a lot about the middle of the way, because I'm not kind of a middle of the way person. I'm not for or against, but I stand pretty strong. Someone said to me yesterday, I have a big will. I stand pretty strong when I make up my mind about something I want access to, like the health of my body or the health of your body or the ability for you to awaken and be aware. I don't waver too much from those intents. So I listened to him, but what I realized in his speaking about what if there is no enemy is I do understand that wholeness and oneness in those states of experience, in those states of reality, except right now we're not exactly swimming in one of those realities, but in those states of experience, in those states of reality, there is no enemy. That's true. There's excitement and wonder and delight and fun, and you don't feel threatened and you feel safe, and there's no sense of anything taking away what you love or taking away you or destroying you. So I know it exists. In the work I do, where I work on building you could call the auric field, the field of being, the stronger system of your consciousness that is non-physical, whatever way you want to put it. It's so that you're a bubble, basically, You're a field being a field. And inside that field of self, there is no enemy. I'm sure about that. Now, is that my always thought pattern? Is that what I think 24/7? Absolutely not. Is that attainable at this time? Maybe not. Maybe not. There's way big time messaging coming from everywhere that there's something to hate, something to fear, something wrong, something not safe. But I just wanted to make this video this morning, especially after prompted by Buddha, that might not be all there is. In the Sentinel meeting, which is my in-person group in my local world, I drew a picture on the board. I may take a picture of it also and post it. And I talked about the corridor, the space between. And what I've learned all these years, because I had a fairly rough beginning of my life, and in my 20s I had some really rough things happen, and but all the time I was doing something that obviously in this video, in hindsight, I'm reporting in about for your use, if you should be so inclined. I made space. I made space for wonder. I didn't try to cure myself, or I didn't think I could ever be cured, actually, from the pain and emotional debris I felt all the time, the fear. I had a terrible fear, a black cloud over my head till probably my early 30s. But I just tried to make space for something else. And in the Sentinel meeting on Wednesday, I drew this corridor. And that corridor is just some space from fear or suffering or anguish, just making some space. And there's a poem by Rilke that talks about a unicorn. It says, and in that space, it gently tilted its head and reflected itself in the mirror and in her. And maybe I'll post that too. It looks like this is about to be a blog. So I can add all my little pieces to the blog. So this is a very specific moment in time where there's a phenomenon of existence within which there is a corridor happening. It's a space between. And I just like you to concentrate on that. I'd like you to be able to experience that in a way that is in service of you. So in my dream, I had a dream about myself as a different looking person. And I had been gone. My friends had invited me to a bar, but not so much a bar, more like a kind of Western dance type bar type thing. And and in that kind of Western type bar type thing, I was sometimes myself, which was happy and kind and carefree. And sometimes I just knew I wasn't myself. I wasn't different. I just knew I wasn't myself. And I'd gotten in a relationship with this very nice man, but he could tell when I wasn't myself. And he began to fear the part of me that wasn't myself, even though he did his best to not. And he would do his best to open up when I was myself. So the dream went on and had lots of different bits and pieces to it. And all the time, I'm starting to separate from the dream, my now self, my non-dream self, and wondering what this dream is about because it's so clear. It's like I'm physically there. I can feel the clothes on my body, and I can feel my fingers, and I can feel where I'm walking. And I'm wondering, what is this? What is this? What is this activity that I'm in? What is happening here to me? And towards the end of the dream, it began to shift, like the space between, like something was present giving me the dream, and that slowly the dream evaporated, And there was Buddha, my version, obviously, of Buddha, which was basically a wise man and wrapped in cloth and sitting in Buddha fashion under his tree. And I sat down beside him, and he urged me, and without words, none of this was with words, just to let people know that there's a whole world happening in the non-physical playing field, in the higher consciousness, and the greater wholeness of which we're a part, which we have not left, and that we are still part of, and that larger part of us and our connection to the generating, organizing design of wholeness and oneness is at work. And that in that at workness, there is no enemy. It isn't about what people wanted of Jesus, which was to fight the Romans and conquer them. He just came and made a new space. He made a space that said, love thy neighbor as thyself. Turn the other cheek. Just be one with the generating, organizing design of creation, and let it empower you and support you. So I am not saying there isn't an enemy. I'm just saying there is a space within us that there is no enemy, and that there are realities that exist within the reality of the enemy that have no enemy, and that we tap into them every day, and that I would love it if you tapped into them and just noticed them, just became aware of them, especially as we go forward and all sorts of crazy things are happening. But that just take time every day to tap into or to notice or be aware of those moments, those experiences where you feel safe, where there is no enemy. And if you don't ever feel safe, find a way to feel safe. Take off your shoes, walk on the moist ground. Watch the water. Because we are where the worlds are splitting, where the world of the enemy is going one way, and the original world here, which had no enemy, everything operated on behalf of everything else, is rising in the midst of it. And I do believe there will be two types of species, two ways humanity interacts. One group of the species will begin to just be tired of having an enemy and will seek to find themselves as themselves, will seek to be with others who are finding themselves as themselves, and will build worlds from those natures of ourselves, worlds within which everyone is safe, everyone has a place, and everyone takes care of everything else, not in the doing, but in the nature of being, in the wonder of being, in the magic of being. So thanks for the time this morning. I'm a transmitter. I'm a cellular empath, as two of my traits in my mystical, seer, prophetess way. So while I've been talking to you, I've just been transmitting Buddha and his last words to me that woke me up and had me go fix my hair because I just awakened in my and put on a bit of makeup and put on my background green screen and sit down with you and before dawn and just let you know that it's possible now just to get on the side of yourself that lives within you, where no memory of the enemy is there. As Buddha said to me at the end of the dream, as Buddha said to me, the middle road is just a road between worlds. It's the space between. Find it and give them a way to find it. Namaste.